Greetings to all. Hello, I'm Dave Kassler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG. Hello, Augies worldwide, and boy, we do have a worldwide audience today. Welcome to the Saturday live stream at 1900 UTC here on Saturday, and I've got a stack of questions that we can go through and enjoy. It's a little bit cloudy today. We're in our monsoon season, which unfortunately for us just means clouds at the moment. We're not getting much rain. I hope we get some more rain as the days go on here, because we're in quite a drought. I had no scrambled questions today, so we don't have to go through that list. That's good, because I had 5 on Thursday. Got several more really good questions, and we'll take a look at those today. Yeah, Don, your comment about the star grounding for amateur radio, I would recommend following the league's recommendation of a single point ground in the shack, and then connecting that single point ground with your ground rod outside. All right, let's see. Any other questions? Hello, Canada. Dave is here. Looks like we have CW contest on 20 right now. Yeah, and some of them are very fast. Hello from Scotland. We have Scotland here today. David is with us. Indiana. Wasn't a desert for 2 weeks, and it was like a desert. Yeah, Phoenix is where I'm going tomorrow. And I'll be down there for a couple weeks or so. Little open-ended at the moment. Going to fly the new aircraft with a certified flight instructor, and see if I can't get as far as I can in my training. My training to date in actual flying has been very sporadic because of airplane availability, instructor availability, and so on. So we're going to try something a little different. So I'll be down there. I'm going to take the laptop with me, so I will try to do live streams when I'm down there. Tomorrow's, today is August 1st, and welcome to the new month here. I know ATESOMCNCQ period, break, and question mark. Good, getting there. And Dan, thank you for opening up the super chat. We have Dan has added $20 to channel funds here. Very much appreciate that. Hello from Sydney, Australia. Best way of grounding on the 5th floor and is possibly, if you are having RF problems in the shack, go ahead and try that MFJ artificial ground. It's basically a tuned counterpoise, so you'll have to retune it on each band. Sharing the heat in central Utah, yeah, it's been warm, I'll tell you. North Carolina is here, Tucson, Arizona. Well, Brian, I'm going to be down in, actually in Buckeye, Arizona, before, well, let's see, I'm leaving here tomorrow afternoon. Stay the night in Kayenta, and then go on down to Phoenix in the morning. We'll be doing some intensive study. I'll fly in the mornings and do a little bit of training in the afternoon. Okay. The buddy pole via the M-Pass. I know what the buddy pole is. I think the M-Pass is something that Chameleon puts out. Is that right? I don't know. The buddy pole works fine. The buddy pole is tuned. It's loaded antenna, so therefore it will tend to be a little higher Q. Not quite cover the whole band. You may have to tweak it a little bit to cover the whole band. These shortened antennas with loading actually work about as well as a dipole, but they're narrower band because they only work right where that tuning is effective there. John from Lompoc, California. I used to live in Simi Valley. Try grounding the building frame if you can. It's hard to get to it, really. Okay, very good. Well, we have some questions. Let's go ahead and get to the questions and see what we can do. The first one is from Ishmael J72IMS, who says hello. He's going to be getting an ICOM 7100 pretty soon, and it will be on HF soon. He's also working on building a 20-element beam for 2 meters 70 centimeter. Now, a 20-element beam on HF bands is impractical. But the 20-element beam for 2 meters 70 centimeter, be a little careful, Ishmael, because once you get past about 9 or 10 elements, you start getting into the land of diminishing returns on those extra beams or extra elements. The problem is, by the time you get out there, you know, there's an ideal placing of those elements. And the further you get out, if you change frequency slightly, the antenna wants to be smaller or bigger, and it starts detuning itself, except on a specific frequency. Another way of putting that is that the antenna becomes very high Q and only works on a fairly narrow frequency range. San Antonio, Texas. Okay. To the rebar. If you can get to the rebar, I don't think you can. In most buildings, that stuff's pretty well hidden inside the building. Okay, this next question is from Dennis Perkinson, WW9T. Can the outputs of 2 or more 12-volt power supplies be wired in parallel for higher amperage loads? If so, can linear and switched power supplies be combined like this? If combined, do both power supplies always need to be turned on? I'm not sure I would recommend it. The problem is load distribution. There needs to be some mechanism to keep the load distributed between the two supplies, and not trying to draw mostly from one and not the other, because if there's a slight voltage difference, each of those power supplies has a regulator in it that tries to attain a standard voltage, and whichever one attains the higher voltage will be the one that gives the most power. So I'd recommend getting a power supply fit for purpose on that. He also asks, how old is too old for power supply? Do the caps go bad? Well, on the really old ones, but he has a 31-year-old 20 amp linear power supply, and it probably will work fine. About the 1970s, manufacturers started using parts that didn't decay, like the parts that were used in the 50s and 60s. So there was a gradual shift over then, and worked well. Okay, let's see. By the way, connecting and using the rebar in a concrete basement or building is called an UFER ground. It's UFER, after the person who proposed it. It's actually a pretty good ground. Yeah, stack 2 10 elements. Okay, Dave, thank you for answering my question about mesh networks. You're welcome. In Portugal, buildings are usually made of concrete, brick, and mortar, no frames. Well, the concrete's probably got rebar in it. The grid iron in the ceiling and steel structure supports in modern commercial construction is electrically grounded. Yeah, pretty much. We could spend a whole video on UFER grounds. That'd be fun. I'll do that sometime. This one is from Ellie Holden K5SQ. She's purchased an ICOM 7300. She says changes in her shack are overdue. I am researching for ways to use adapt to repurpose an AH4 antenna tuner for dipole tuning. Well, I don't know what an AH4 antenna tuner is. Let's look it up. Let's go to the screen and go to Google AH4 antenna tuner. Oh, this is used for a long wire. That's a long wire tuner. Made by ICOM. You can do with that a long wire and tune it that way. However, note, if you put up a dipole, single band dipole, and you trim it right, it'll be a nice load for the IC7300, maybe with the assist of the internal tuner, and you will not need an external tuner. Okay? So you might be better off if you're going to put up a dipole, a tuned dipole for the band you like, go ahead and just use the internal tuner on the radio. It should work pretty well. Okay. Yeah, it says ICOM discourages the thought. That antenna is designed to tune a long wire. So, let's see. This is from David Sapadin. All right. I don't see a call sign here. Looks like the radials all over the roof has been shot down by the HOA. They had okayed an 18-foot mast strapped to my chimney, but the old version like you had with the 4 elements. So I'll keep my eyes open for a used one or something similar that isn't any taller. Really thought I finally was going to make everybody happy. Yeah, the 14 AVQ needs radials. However, what I suggested to him is you might try a vertical that doesn't need radials. That way, look at the AV640 or something like that. Because then that way you won't have to deal with radials, and you can still put it up on the roof, and it's not that tall. So, and there are other vertical antennas that are even shorter if you want to go with those. Okay. Which airport are you going to be training at while in Arizona? Buckeye. Maybe we could meet for lunch. Well, very, very possibly. I'll be in Buckeye starting Monday afternoon, and I don't know exactly how the schedule's going to work. I know that this guy likes to fly really early in the morning. It's been hitting 115 in the afternoons in Phoenix. This is their hot season. So we're going to fly very early in the morning, which probably means around 6 o'clock, and do a couple flights if we can. So a couple hours, maybe 3 hours in the air. And then we will be in the afternoon working ground. So I may have some lunch times free, but I'll be at the Buckeye Airport, which is way out west in Phoenix. It's kind of one of the last bastions of civilization before you go into the great Sonoran Desert. Okay. Try vertical. Okay, here's one. This is from Jack KD4LEA. He says, currently I'm using a G5RV Junior up at 35 feet, and it seems to work well on 40 through 10. I would like to put up an antenna for comparison. What would you suggest? One he was curious about was a folded dipole. Here's, Jack, I would suggest that dipoles and their variants all work about the same. Try comparing it to a vertical. If there's some way you can put up a vertical or something and give that a try, you'll get a different angle of radiation. You might work different stations. It's kind of interesting because you can be in the shack switching back and forth between the two and hear some stations better on one than the other and vice versa. And let's see, Jon Thompson KA6TVX says, this is not a question, just wanted to let you know I appreciate your hard work. Try not to miss Thursday or Saturday live streams. Had my extra license for 10 years, but still enjoy all your extra videos. I've been putting up quite a few. I recently, just over 2 months ago, got the Zygo G90 and use a QRP with an MFJ ham stick portable from my car. Good deal. With limited operating time, I've logged 10 contacts in 9 different states. Only works CW, and he uses a Kuti key, he says. Very good. A Kuti key is a sideways key. Now, normal key you pound from the top, and you make your dits and the das. In a Kuti key, it's like two keys back to back. So you can, a lot of people get in the habit of making their das one way and then their dits the other way. They're physically made. It's not a bug. It doesn't do automatic dits. But some people like it because you're moving your whole hand back and forth rather than doing this, and you don't get carpal tunnel syndrome like a lot of telegraphers get. In telegraphy, carpal tunnel is called glass arm. There are ways around it. Actually, when you press down on the key, you should press down from the elbow rather than the wrist, but from the elbow. Let's see. When wrapping a toroid for RFI, does the coax have to contact the toroid or just need to go through the center? Just goes through the center. Heard you had to wrap it tightly, which stresses the coax. It does, unless you get a real big one. You don't need to wrap it tightly. You don't. Okay, this next one is from Yankee Delta 0, Papa Golf Foxtrot. I want to start learning CW on my IC718. When I start keying the code using the microphone's up-down keys, I notice the radio's relays also working fast. What should I do to prevent this? Wouldn't the relay damage faster if we often QSO and CW? I don't know that much about the 718, whether it has a keying relay. Those keying relays are specially designed for keying, and so they'll do it kind of indefinitely. They're actually in a little vacuum, and it's a reed relay, and the magnetic field causes the thing to just move a little bit and touch. I would suggest, instead of using the radio's up-down keys to key, that you actually get a key. If you look at MFJ, they have some very inexpensive keys, or you can go to CW Morse, CWMORSE.US, not .com, .US. I've reviewed their keys, both their paddle and their straight key. They're very inexpensive, and I would really recommend learning on a proper key rather than trying to learn it. It's really hard to send clean code with the up and down keys on the microphone. That's for emergency use only. I would recommend getting a key. Where's my box of keys? Somewhere over there. I've got a couple, and if you go to dcastler.com/previous and just do a Control F and then search for key, it ought to take you to several videos that feature the keys. Okay, and bully for you for using CW. Yeah, I don't know how the CW or the IC718 works. Maybe somebody does here, they can talk about that. A random wire to go with the autocomb. A standard definition of a random wire is something significantly longer than a wavelength. So on 40 meters, for example, you'd put up a 150-foot random wire. Notice that random wires are a bit directional. They tend to be directional off the end of the random wire. Put it in semi-break-in mode in the 718. Okay, that will help. Would an AV680 work better for DX than my Alpha Delta DXCC? If you move your DXCC higher, up to a half wavelength on the band that you want to use, which is kind of hard. On 40 meters, that's 66 feet. and the AV680 only gives you a few kilohertz on 80 meters. And it's like $100 more expensive than the AV640. I would encourage you to look at the AV640 and see if that will meet your needs. Any experience with the chameleon quad or octagon bass and shark ham sticks? No, I don't. I've used the MFJ ham sticks, and you know, it's a little weird. There is a company called Hamstick that makes ham sticks, and it's their trademark, and I don't know if MFJ has licensed that from them or what, but it puts out its preloaded antennas and calls them ham sticks too. So I'm assuming that they've licensed that name. Just like how you're supposed to pound the ivory keys on the piano, Dave, let me get your opinion in the straight gear paddle to start CW. Well, the classic way to learn is with a straight key. And I guess that's considered best practice. I don't know. If you're going to join an organization like the Straight Key Century Club, which does a lot of slow code work, they insist on straight keys, or the cootie, or a bug, rather than an electronic keyer. So there's that consideration. I think you'll develop better muscle control if you start to learn with a straight key, and don't worry, I know your code will sound awful when you first start. It'll get better as you go. But if you want to start with a keyer, a paddle, there's really nothing that says you gotta or can't, so might as well. NAQP cranking. Okay, it's going to be a busy night of YouTube. Yes, lots going on. Okay, let's see. How long the random wire to go with an ICOM auto tuner? It should be at least a wavelength and probably more. Note that if a piece of wire is more than a wavelength for 40 meters, it satisfies that same condition on all of the bands on up. This is from John Smith, KG5KYJ. I am window shopping for my first new radio and am aware of your ICOM 7300 reference station. I'm considering a few models, but the Yaesu FT991A is at the top of the list. Would really like to know why I didn't choose the FT991A as a second rig. Because the 7300 is a spectacular radio, as is the FT991A, and it's cheaper. But the FT991A will also do 2 meters and 70 centimeters. Go ahead and get it. I mean, get what you want. But understand that I will do all videos about HF using the reference radio. So we'll have, and it's right there. So it's the radio that I'm using right now. Yeah, the FT991A is a very nice radio. I think you'll be happy with it. It's not fully software defined like the ICOM 7300, but so what? It works great. It's a great radio. So, yeah, and I've talked with people with 991s, and they love them. So, you know. Okay, this next one is from Jim K5IWT. It says, thanks so much for all your videos. I've learned so much about amateur radio. Okay, on Thursday's stream you mentioned removing the password from the LDS Hams section of your site to allow us to see the communications plan suggestions. Okay, it turns out it's not a page. It's not a WordPress page. Let's go to screen, and if you're LDS, you might want to take a look at this. dcasler.com/LDSEMCOM. And this is what you get. This is hand-coded. These are a bunch of documents that I put together, well, in 1998, a long time ago, when I was in the Montrose stake, and we were very successful with it. Please protect the privacy of people whose names are mentioned in these documents. These documents, as I said, are over 20 years old, most of them. But it's stuff that you can do for, there's a net script, there's stuff like that, some emergency plans, but it's LDS and then you can pick an individual document like this PDF file and take a look at what's in there. Now, please don't consider this stuff to be gospel. It's not. It's just some examples of what worked for me 20 years ago. Times have changed, things have changed, guidance has changed, but maybe there's something in there that would be of some use to you. Okay. Let's see. TS120 does not generate a side tone. Oh, that's terrible. I didn't know that. Waterfall is clunky also, so I've heard. This is on the 991. The waterfall is an add-in. Do CW operators with older gear utilize a tone generator also connected to key? That's called a side tone, and yes, they do. And Optical Man 1, Jeff, thank you. Says, thanks, Dave, for all your work with ham radio. Look forward to Thursdays and Saturday live streams. Good. And it is true, Morse code is no longer required, but it is certainly available, even on HF. By the way, the League just came out with a recommendation for a band plan to allow technicians to use HF. And they were quite generous with the frequencies they gave on 80, 40, 10, or 80, 40, 15, and 20. 80, 40, 15, and 10. Not 20. Not 20. Yeah, some people are, you can buy a straight key for $300 or $400 if you want to. This is why MFJ came out with the $20 and $30 ones that are good. Don't buy the cheap Amico style plastic key. It's not a good key. Go with the CW Morse or something like that. Okay. Saving for an FTDX 3000. It's nice radio. Mine's right there. I can look at it now. It's in the background. I've changed the background for my studio here so that when I'm filming, I'm filming this way against a backdrop of radios and stuff like that I've got up there. Okay. Yeah, the military keys are great. I'd love to get one. Okay, let's go on. Now this is from Alexei Svirid in the Ukraine. He is a shortwave listener. He has the unofficial shortwave listener call sign UR1202SWL. Are there some rules for listeners? Not really. Listen to what you want to. Some hams will QSL back if you are a shortwave listener and you listen to a ham conversation and you send a shortwave QSL card to that. Some hams will QSL back. I do. And also I know SWL, the amount of foreign broadcasting, the old, when you used to be able to get on shortwave and tune in Tokyo and Berlin and London and all those are largely gone, but because of the internet. But there are some stuff out there for people who are shortwave listeners. Well, let's see. As far as I know, in old times, I think, Alexei, you're thinking all the way back to Soviet Union old times. The Soviet Union considered amateur radio a sport. And as part of their social policy, they wanted to develop the sports. And so a lot of club stations were funded by the state. And it's good old Box 88 in Moscow where we sent all our QSL cards. And I worked a lot of Soviet stations. And in the Ukraine, the same thing. And some of that stuff is still around. And the attitude toward amateur radio that comes from viewing it as a sport and hence a bit competitive is still around in former Soviet countries like the Ukraine. So you may find that that's where those rules and so on for shortwave listeners came from, was that time. They were good rules, good things happened. I can remember before the Soviet Union changed, I worked a lot. I have a lot of QSL cards. I have a QSL card that's impossible to duplicate now. It's from East Germany. There's no such thing anymore. So they just count as Germany anymore. Okay. This is from Mike Wright N7MDW. You've mentioned several times that a good 6-meter horizontal antenna height is a half wavelength, about 10 feet. You refer to lensing and other heights, and he wants to know what I mean by that. Let's take a look at the overhead. Okay. Let's look end on at the antenna. Get some light on this thing here. Oh, that's too much light. How about this? Yeah, that's not any better, is it? Okay, we're looking at it end on. So you've got your dipole like this at 10 feet high. Okay, looking at it end on, the radiation, vertical radiation pattern is going to look about like this. And it's going to be the same on the other side. Okay? Now, if you make it higher than, if you make it, say, 20 feet, which is a full wavelength, here's what's going to happen. Your pattern is going to look like this. And that's what I mean by lensing. You get a null in here. And the higher you go, the more petals there are on the lensing. And it just starts to look like a flower when it gets up pretty high. Even if you've got it 100 feet high, you've got a lot of lensing. Lost a J38 key in the storage unit burglary. That is sad. I'm sorry to hear that. Well, a lot of people do learn to play guitar with cheap guitars, and as they get better, they move up. Let me get those keys out. Where are they? Got so many here. I can't find the one I'm looking for. Here we go. Okay, here is your classic straight key. This is a JJ38. It's the Japanese version of the J38. It's a very nice, super solid, super reliable, last forever kind of key. These were literally 25 cents a piece after World War II. They were being sold off. You could get boxes of these things in the surplus stores. These are a little hard to find. Now, this key right here is the MFJ 566M. Okay, and it is a straight key. It's 3D printed. It's got real ball bearings in here, and all the adjustments you want for travel and for distance and so on. And it's got a place in the back that you can plug in a connector, and you can see here it's actually made by you can't see that, CWMorse.us, but this plugs in here, and then this plugs into your rig. And this is a very nice little key. It has got the same feel as the J38 pretty much. This key can last you a long time. It's on an aluminum base. This is a similar, I think, the MFJ. This is paddles. And they've got a magnetic thing in there that provides the spring. They're very loose. You can tweak that just a tiny bit, but not much. The classic paddle is this one. This is the Bencher BY1. Okay. A very nice feel to it. But this is about 200 bucks. I've had that Bencher for many years. Many years. Back when I actually did CW. Okay, so we've talked about height of antennas. You're going to have the same thing with the vertical. It's going to lens a little bit. That may or may not be an issue for you. Let's see. Well, Benjamin, you may be right. Let me tell you what the problem is. The problem is that many techs use a handheld for a while and then lose interest and go away. And that's the majority of the new hams that do that. They lose interest and go away. And I have long maintained, just a personal feeling of mine, that the real fun in ham radio is on HF. If you're willing to learn the code, you can participate in that. But otherwise, you don't get any of the HF experience that you do. So I am a supporter of the idea that techs need some HF voice privileges. Manufacturers are all for it, of course, because then they can sell more radios. But, you know, an operator, whether general or extra, there are an awful lot of generals who don't upgrade to extra. There are about twice as many generals as extras. About 50% of all hams on the books are tech. So the idea is to get them onto HF, because the HF bands are seeing less and less and less activity, except on contest weekends. It used to be that even on a non-contest weekend or a weeknight, you could hardly find a place to put in a signal to make a CQ. And that has changed dramatically since I was first to ham. We need a lot more activity on HF, a lot more. And yes, we will need to help train some of these new people in proper HF procedures. I remember when I was a novice, there were a lot of hams who would not work novices because they thought they were sloppy and so on. I don't like that attitude. It's not best practice. The idea is that we help each other. So anyway, my feelings on that. Does lensing occur when your dipole's on a mountain? To some degree, yes. Don, I also passed the 20 word a minute. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Drawing butterflies, there you go. Where did you get your chair? Looks nice and comfy. Got it at Office Depot. You have a point. On the other hand, slight taste of HF might drive them to upgrade for more frequencies. Yes, that's a good key. Well, the BY1 is a fantastic key. The old railroad keys. Yeah, I have an old railroad key too. Didn't even know MFJ made that particular key. I know it's a fairly well-kept secret. Or if you go to cwmorse.us, you can get this key, and then you can get it in different colors and all of that sort of things like that. Yeah, the Marines had these leg-mounted keys. HF is fun. Yeah, I know some people think General's easy. For some people, it's just plain hard. Yeah, well, that's right. Don, you're right. It's 10 meters. They already have voice privileges. Upgrade to access because somebody pointed out to me that 60% of the questions on the General were on the extra. Well, the extra is a tougher test. In the UK, the foundation, or first part, we have HF privileges only 10 watts. Mine, but it's great and can hit the US. Yes. This is, by the way, why they make radios like the G90. It's for a worldwide audience. In the US, a novice can use up to 200 watts power. Novice, I mean tech, can use up to 200 watts power. Whereas in most of the rest of the world, it's either 10 or 20 watts. William Morris is asking about using a radio on the cigarette lighter. I do. I wouldn't worry about it. Here in Ireland, we just have the one exam. If I had to study for 3 exams, I would have lost interest and gone away. Old-timers today are the novice kids. Guys play that. Yeah, a lot of after World War II and they came out with the new licensing structure, they started giving K calls. Calls that started with K, like KE0OG, but usually K, a number, and then 3 letters. And there were old-timers who said they would not work the space cadets. In other words, they wouldn't work anybody with a K. We don't need that in ham radio. Okay, let's see. Feel like I cheated on my extra. I'm blessed with a photographic memory. Well, good. Good deal. Does the J-pole have gain over dipole? A bit. Does the coax need to be at 90 degrees if the dipole is vertical? Now we're talking a different question. Yes, it does. It's not text causing havoc on 7200. Yes, true. Hello from the Wisconsin Military Academy. Good to see you guys again. How can I protect my SDR play from another incoming antenna signal near the SDR receiver at the shack? My SDR play is, well, I get the output from that little addition we put in the 7300. I also have an antenna that's receive only out there, and I've not noticed an issue with them. Okay. Let's see. This is from Mike Carrington KG0P. Says, hi Dave, what kind of panadaper do you have and from whom did you buy it? I can't find anything on your previous site and anything about purchasing them non-existent. It's in there, but these are SDR Play radios. SDRplay.com. It's what I use, the cheapest one, which is the one I use most. The RSP1A, I think, runs around $100. And that drives the computer, which gives me the great big panadapter display. it's really a very nice pin adapter. Let's see here. Let's see what we can find here. Not CyberLink. SDR Uno is the software. Okay, so here is SDR. Let's go ahead and start it. So this is showing 20 meters right now. Let's try 40 meters. It may not be on the right antenna. No, come on. Let's get it right here. Oh, that's why. Okay, that won't work. Yeah, I've got too many things configured too weirdly. Okay, this is the one I want, and I want that down. Yeah. Well, anyway, you're seeing the pan adapter here. I don't have it connected to the right antenna. Okay, I'm sorry. There's a signal right there. Yeah, that's not working. Sorry, I should have had that set up so that it would work. I don't have an antenna connected to it. But that's what I use for the pan adapter. Let's go to normal view here. Okay. Okay, did we have an interruption? Okay. Can you recommend a 6-meter antenna? Yeah, dipole. If you run across NetLigar, I have not used it. The same birdies on 20. Where and when is the coffee and radio net? I don't know. Maybe somebody does. Yeah. No, there should be an antenna. I've got antennas kind of mixed around on here because I'm doing the G90. Okay. All right. Anyway, that's what I use for the pan adapter. This is from Bob Taylor WB6TIS. It says, I am near Idaho Falls, and my property is on a bed of dirt and thick river rock. The best I could do for ground rod was 4 feet down with a sledgehammer. Could I do another 4-foot ground rod and strap them together to have an effective ground? Yes, you can. Put them at the distance of the ground rod depth apart, so 4 feet there. If you do 8 feet and 8 feet, you want to get them 8 feet apart and so on. Bond them together, and then use one as your central point ground. Okay, use one of them as your central point ground, and let the other be its auxiliary ground. Another thing you can do is lay an 8-foot ground rod in a trench and bury it, and that acts. The bottom half acts like a ground rod. If you put another one, put it off the end of that one in a trench, and so on. Bring the two together like this and then up, and you can use that as a ground rod, and that will work quite well too. That's another way that you can get around having to get that ground rod buried. Okay, all right. Stream issue on your end. Oh, sorry. We have 213 concurrent viewers. That's cool. Okay, the MFJ 1896, fantastic. 6-meter horizontal loop in the attic has gotten me over 100 grid squares. Yeah, you can put up a loop for 6 meters. Well, look up loops or what they call deltas and try one of those. Let's see, okay. But yeah, those ground, it is possible to ground. You can lay those ground rods in trenches, 16-foot long trench with 2 8-foots. Cover it pretty deeply. And you'll be surprised how well it works. It does work well. You used hammer drill with an adapter to sink a ground rod. Got it almost all the way down. That's another way of doing it too. You're actually breaking rocks as you go down. Okay, this is from Robert Ang. Learned so much from your extra class license version 11 video. New 12th edition is out. Any plans to upgrade version 11 to 12 in your videos? We have that question every week. And the answer is yes. So let's go to the screen and we'll go to dcasler.com. Okay. And we'll come over here in the right-hand column and click on Amateur Extra. And this is the current status right now. Okay. Chapter 1 through 5 have been updated for the 12th edition. So I've got left 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 to do. Now, they're not going to get done till I get back from Phoenix, I'm sorry. But the goal is to have them done maybe by the end of August. I'll get them done. Okay, so let's see. 6-meter squalo, that would work too. Do you know of any plans to build your own multi-band vertical? There are plans out there, but they're a little bit more difficult because you've got to put, they're not as easy as a dipole. Now, there is something called the 43-foot vertical, which is just 43-foot rod up in the air. You have to put the tuner, like the ICOM tuner, right at the base. The things are so far out of tune that you'll lose a lot in any transmission line. So you just eliminate the transmission line and put the tuner right at the bottom. They need a lot of radials to work properly and really don't work all that well in the higher bands. But for 160, 80, 40, and 20, they're okay. What do you use for the strap for connecting the ground rods? You can either use copper strap in either the 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, or 1 inch width. It's just a flat strap. Or you can use grounding braid, which you can also get up to 1 inch in thickness. I'd go with the strap if you can get it. You can find it. You can get it from places like TX Engineering and so on, or the Wireman, or so on. Got a layer of dense clay about 4 feet down. It doesn't matter how hard I pound. Now I just go run a huge demo hammer. Yeah. Okay, Ray Hagan says that he appreciates the videos. Just received the new ARRL Extra Class Manual. Time to reactivate my 70-year-old brain. Yeah, I just had my 69th birthday, so I'm coming up right there behind you. Let's see. All the parts available on DX Engineering, or just buy one from Callum. Okay. Hard time getting my 7300 and PC to talk using FL Digi. Any videos coming? There is a video on that. And I believe FL Digi will talk directly to the 7300. If not, there is a piece of software that comes from FL Digi called FL Rig. FLRIG. And it is designed specifically to interface FL Digi with various radios. And you can use that too. There are videos on, there is 1 or 2 videos showing using the 7300 on FT8. And that will show you, and also on digital modes there too. 2-meter and 6-meter squalo. Georgia Copper, yes. Thought I mentioned that I saw your video SWR Demystified from 2016. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Sheldon. Happy birthday, yes. Are there any rules of thumb for counterpoise wires? Yeah, they need to be kind of tuned So if you're doing 40 meters, you want a quarter wave. They should be about quarter wave, about. And then the MFJ tuner will tune it the rest of the way. Christopher Goodman, thank you very much. He says, thank you for your sage advice. I do have some sagebrush in the backyard. We do kind of live in the desert here. FL rig works when I use it on CW. Okay. Happy birthday. Let's see. So, yes, I'm doing those. This is from Eddy K6SDW. Are Amphenol connectors worth the cost? They're expensive compared to the Chinese ones. Yes, they are. I'm asking because I just discovered a PL259 right angle connector had pulled apart, something I've never experienced in 55 years as a ham. Yes, I had somebody else mention that very same thing about a right angle connector pulling apart. China makes good connectors and it makes bad connectors. We've got to remember that China has, with all of its modernization, has a very active radio manufacturing capability. They do make ham radio stuff on the side, but mostly it's public safety, public service, things like that. And the country has set a goal for itself to be completely independent of Western suppliers. China is also 4 times the size of the United States, and although its economy is still below that of the U.S., they're coming up fast. It won't be many years, and they'll be the world's biggest economy. They make a lot of radio equipment, and some of that equipment is very, very good. The Anytone radios and things like that are just really good. They also make junk because they'll make stuff for the lowest bidder. When you buy things like PL259s and whatnot on Amazon, you don't know what you're getting. And sometimes they'll say Amphenol, and with the Chinese, because remember on, let's just do that. Let's just go to the screen, and we'll go to Amazon, and we'll look for PL259 connectors. Okay, MPD Digital. PL259, let's take this group right here. Now, note over here, it usually will say who sells it, RF adapter. Okay, I've never heard of them. This is a 5-pack of that with the reducer, all this right here for $16, which is a pretty low price, okay? And I don't know who RF adapter is. Let's take a look. They make a whole bunch of stuff here. I'm not sure that I would use this stuff. But if we go back here to, this is down, where is MPD Digital? Here is an RG8X PL259 crimp connector bag of 6 for $18.95. Okay. And they've got the little connectors. MPD Digital is a company I've interviewed the principal for this right here. He makes extremely high quality stuff and has all of these different things available that come from MPD Digital. I don't know, and that won't take us to their website, but they have a website, and I've interviewed the guy there. So the problem is you can get just about whatever you ask for. If we go to MPD Digital, mpdigital.com, ICOM LMP no, it's Coax USA. There we go. Coax USA. Okay. If you buy the stuff from like a vendor like this, MP Digital, this is a very reputable vendor for anything having to do with coax cables. And I've interviewed the guy who is responsible for this. These are made in the United States. If you get another place for cable is Times Microwave. These guys make coax, and this is the really high quality stuff. Their connectors for this are total crimp. You don't have to put the solder the main connector. It crimps on. And I have some, I've done a video on them. They're very, very high quality. You will enjoy those. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Brian KO4BVH writes, you mentioned damage caused to your handheld due to an external antenna not being grounded. Yes. I had a J-pole on the roof, and it came down to a coax connector, which I just connected right into a handheld. So there was no path to ground for the wind blowing by the J-pole and creating a charge on there. And the differential between the two sides created enough voltage to blow out the front end on that. Now, if I had attached a wire to the J-pole up there and run it all the way to the ground so it could bleed off the charge, that would not have happened. So he has a roll-up Slim Jim that works pretty well. How would I go about grounding that without interfering with the signal? The bottom of that Slim Jim is the 0 point. You can take it from there to ground, or you can, in your shack, well, another way to do it, if you were going to really do it right, is down by your ground rod, your station ground rod, that is bonded to your utility ground rod. Put in a lightning arrestor. Bring that Slim Jim feed all the way down to there, and then from there into the shack. That will protect your radio. Okay. Micro BITX is from India. It is. Date's birthday today? No, it was 3 days ago. Okay. My birthday is not quite the same as Harry Potter. He was born on July 31st. I was on the 28th. What about the Wireman? Good company too. Yeah. W5SWL, good, reasonably priced, okay. So there's that one. Let's see. This is from Chad Knight, KJ4RVN. Bob Taylor, thank you very much for the birthday present, WB6TIS. I appreciate that. That will go into channel funds. Miss Dave, hope you are well. I'm president of the BOAS Albertville Amateur Radio Club and was wondering if you'd be willing to do a presentation. Oh my goodness. I am very sorry that I did not see that earlier, because that came in February. I'm going to set this aside because I want to respond to that. Yes, I do presentations over Skype or whatever. Here's somebody asking about electronic testing. There are organizations that do electronic or do testing remotely now. And we're getting to see more of those. I'm not sure I understand that. Spice, LT Spice. And he's got a receiver circuit that he's working on there. This is from K0NNN. Hope you're doing good. I escaped the Front Range and moved to Arizona. I'll be down there myself soon. Wanted to ask you if you had a recommendation on HF transceivers. Yeah, the ICOM 7300. Look at dcasler.com/reference. dcasler.com/reference. And it will show you what you're looking for. Dave Nolan. Well, Dave, if you're listening, I know you. Hi. How are you? Haven't talked with him in a while. I must have retired from IBM now. This is from Carlos R Vega and P4CV, which is Puerto Rico. I live in an HOA and I want to put a multiband antenna in the attic. I need a recommendation. You could do a magnetic loop dipole. I don't know how much room you have in your attic, but a mag loop like the MFJ one has a remote tuner, so you can tune it from your shack. I know people have done that. Harry Rundell, also a happy birthday. Thank you very much, from AC3EK. Dino Papas, I just saw your comments. I work for Andrew Corp. I could provide tons of information on cheap versus quality components. Yes. Oh, yeah, the Messi and Paolini, they not only make coax, they make connectors, too. And that's sold through MFJ. Okay, so, Carlos, if you have room for a... I don't know, you'd need 66 feet in there. I don't know if you've got that. But there are things that you can do. Talk to people in your local amateur radio club. The piece of coax from my step IR, big IR, to the ground rod is the Messi Paolini coax. Tommy Clemenson is participating in a Russian contest. We'll send very low speed, about 20. I know from other contests that the Russian contesters are very big ears, so I think I can work a few ones. Yes, I live at the 3rd floor, so my antenna's not so big, but he's worked Russia before. This is Tommy Clemenson, who is OZ1THC, right there. And good luck with that contest. He is DK. Is that Denmark? I don't know. Sent you a bow dipole diagram used in my attic. I think I got that, Harry. It came to my regular address, so it didn't get sent over here in time for today. These are the questions from hamradioanswers@gmail.com and the ones sent to ke0og.net/ask-Dave. Has anyone used a radio waves off center fed? Had a terrible time with it. I have not. The only off center fed dipole I've ever used is the only off center fed I've ever used is the one that I've got, the reference antenna, the MFJ 2010. And that's a nice little antenna. We are way over time. Oh my goodness. Been having too much fun here. Thank you. Yes, OG is Denmark. Okay, very good. We have a very international audience, and that's great. That's the way it should be. One of the fundamental purposes the FCC cites for the existence of amateur radio is the ability to increase international goodwill. So let's do it. Let's get on these contests and everything like that. And when flying, keep the blue side up. Actually, it's the yellow side in my case. And thank you for safe travels to Phoenix. I leave tomorrow afternoon. I'll stay in Kayenta and then get down to Buckeye Monday midday, and we'll start our flying on Tuesday. And we'll try to fly every day and then have sort of classroom follow-up to that. The practicalities, not the stuff I need to pass the test. I've already passed the test. So I'm going to say 73 to everybody. It's been an honor to be on with you. I love you guys and gals, and this is just a great thing to do. My favorite time of the week is doing the live streams. So I'm going to say 73, and the next time I see you will be from Arizona. So 73 to all.